These changes are in line with the determination of Mr. President to rejig the security architecture of the country to ensure that security challenges bedeviling the nation are brought to an end.
Mohammed Adamu out, Usman Alkali Baba in as Inspector General of Police.
We will see a much more enhanced security arrangement.
Federal government to reinforce security in Imo as Vice President describes attack as cowardly.
These are abhorrent and condemnable and couldn't have come from true-born Nigerians.
Victory over banditry lies with citizens' cooperation with the security, Information Minister pleads.
I thank God that He spared my life to witness this memorable moment.
And about a year of closure due to COVID-19, skies open again for foreign trips at the Aminu Kano International Airport. Hello, good evening and welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Joseph Johnson. With me tonight from Lagos is Hingino John Adams. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has condemned the attack on the Nigerian Correctional Service Owerri Custodial Center and the Imo State Police
gradually. So beach soccer is on the move.
I want to assure you, Nigeria is going to move very far in beach soccer. I'm assuring you. We will not be treated as a baby again in the world stage.
From the foreign scene, quarter-final matches of UEFA Champions League continue on Wednesday in a repeat of last season's final when FC Porto takes on Chelsea, Bayern Munich lock arms with Paris Saint-Germain. With sports update, Olumide Gontola, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has extended his heartfelt condolences to the family of Afaka on the passing of Master Warrant Officer Seidu Afaka, his official driver, who died at the State House Clinic on Tuesday after a prolonged illness. President Buhari, who also commiserates with the government and people of Kaduna State, described the late Afaka as an honest, capable and reliable person who handled his job with utmost care and responsibility. The president recalls that in 2016, the soldier, while on pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, picked up a bag containing a large amount of foreign currencies and turned it over to the National Hajj Commission, an action which earned him praises from the Saudi and Nigerian authorities. And the death has occurred of Suleiman Aliyu Lere, member House of Representatives, Lere Federal Constituency of Kaduna State. He died at Barrow Diko Specialist Hospital, Kaduna, after a brief illness. Meanwhile, the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wasi, has expressed sadness over the death of Suleiman Aliyu Lere less than a week after the Green Chamber recorded the death of a lawmaker. He condoled the government and people of Kaduna State, the people of Lere Federal Constituency, and the immediate family of the deceased. Also, the death has been announced of Ifidelis Chukuma Okoli of Umeze Chuku Village, Akbo in Orumba South local government area of Anambra State, aged 75. Burial arrangements released by the family indicate that there will be a wake on Thursday, April 8th, 2021 at his country home, Umeze Chuku Village, by 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, 9th April, body leaves Orumba General Hospital for his residence by 7:30, while lying in state will be the same day at his residence by 8 a.m. Funeral mass will follow immediately at St. Dominic Xavier Junior Seminary, Akbu Jugu, Akbu Orumba South local government area of Anambra State by 9 a.m. Interment follows at his country home, followed by condolence visits. Fidelis Chukuma Okoli is survived by his wife, children and grandchildren. And now, let's take a look at the weather prospects.
You're welcome. We have reports of high temperature values across the country, as Maiduguri reported as high as 43 degrees Celsius, Sokoto 41, Kebbi 43, Zamfara 41, and Yola 43 degrees Celsius. And we still expect further rise in temperatures as there are little or no dust to attenuate the sun. And so we advise residents of the extreme northern region, especially people living around Borno, Adamawa, Kebbi, Sokoto, and Yobe, to ensure they live in a well-ventilated environment, take enough fluid, and also wear light clothing where necessary, in order to reduce the outbreaks of any heat-related ailments like heat rashes and measles. The southern cities should be mostly cloudy, with prospects of isolated thunderstorms over parts of Imo, Benin, Akure, Ondo, Osun, Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Calabar. More cloud build-up is expected over the central, which gives prospects of thundery activities over Nasarawa, Jos, and parts of the FCT in the late afternoon hours. That's the weather for Wednesday. Please join us again.
That ends NTA Network News for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Joseph Johnson. Don't forget to be a star and connect with the NTA as we wage war against rape and rapists. Good night.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
I bring you wonderful news. The village headmaster is coming back to your screen. Mo wire abi mi o wire.
The premiere of the new season of The Village Headmaster, initially scheduled for the second quarter of 2021, has now been postponed till further notice. We apologize for this short notice and promise to keep our viewers and advertisers informed as soon as we have a new date.
And I know that even you too, you are getting a lot of orders too.
We are trying, shao.
This vaccine is safe and it has been certified safe and usable by NAFTA.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Contemporary times require practical skills to remain competitive and relevant in your organization. Therefore, take advantage of NTA TV College short proficiency courses to sharpen your professional skills. Basic Broadcast Accounting and Auditing. Date 19th April to 30th April 2021. 2 weeks. Audio Engineering, Operations and Maintenance. Date 19th April to 23rd April 2021. 1 week. Protocol, Event Management and Public Relations. Date 3rd May to 14th May 2021. 2 weeks. Intermediate Camera Operation Techniques. Date 17th May to 11th June 2021. 4 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week course is 100,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2-week course is 80,000 naira, while the course fee for the 1-week course is 40,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. Venue for all the courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
My name is Boss Mustafa, the Secretary to the Government and the Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. I've just had the rare privilege of taking my first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and I can tell you that we are doing very well in terms of our response and the administration of the vaccines all over the country. As strategic leaders, we are supposed to lead by example, and the President did precisely that on Saturday with the Vice President, and we are continuing in that particular direction. The essence of taking these vaccines is to help us really fight this COVID-19 virus, and the combination of the non-pharmaceutical measures and the vaccine is the way to go in 2021 and thereafter.
Honorable Minister for Sports, Chief Sondidare, Your Excellency, my brother, the Governor of Lagos, of Delta State, who has taken time out to come and be with us this evening, Your Excellencies, members of the National Assembly, members of the State House of Assembly, our royal fathers. For time, let me abridge the protocol. I am very glad to welcome all of you to the historic city of Benin for the opening ceremony of the 20th edition of the National Sports Festival at the ultramodern Samuel Ogbagodia Sports Complex. The Sports Festival suffered several postponements due to the disruptions caused by the coronavirus. That we are holding the games today is a testament to the indomitable Nigerian spirit and our determination to, at every point in our history, rise above ominous challenges that threaten our unity and survival. The National Sports Festival has a very unique history, which is deeply rooted in the sad experiences of the Nigeria Civil War. The first edition of this festival was held to bring our different peoples together to compete and find purpose in the bond that holds us together as brothers and sisters. notwithstanding our different ethnic origins, gender, religion, and language. Today, our country is in dire need of peace, tolerance, and brotherhood. That is why we felt the necessity to host these games, despite the challenges, so that we can rekindle the vision of our past leaders in the same quest for excellence, friendship, and respect, particularly among the youth of our nation. The Samuel Ogbamudia complex, where we are holding these games, is named after a great leader and sports enthusiast, Brigadier General Samuel Ogbamudia. We have completely rebuilt this edifice in line with our vision of reenacting Edo as the epicenter of sporting activities in Nigeria. It has a main bowl, the state-of-the-art pitch and tartan tracks, one of the best indoor gymnasiums in Africa, and the only one with a suspended gym and warm-up floor. It has 5 lawn tennis courts, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, the video assistant referee, the VAR, among other world-class facilities which we host. Our dear athletes, all of you have come from different parts of the country, and this game belongs to you. Please compete fairly in the games and show us all the products of the many hours you spend practicing to be the best in what you do. On these grounds, you will reap the reward of hard work, of perseverance and determination through your performance and conduct, so that you can be the real role models for other youths in Nigeria. So I urge you to put in your best, be a good sportsman, and acknowledge when you have been battered by your peers. For what else is the purpose of this game if it's not to test and produce the best amongst us? My appreciation goes to Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for his faith in us and keeping his promise to ensure that the games are held, despite the initial hiccups it suffered. We are grateful to him for being a father to all of us. I want to specifically thank the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, who tried to be here this evening, but his plane had to be diverted because of the storm this evening. We are grateful that he has taken time off his busy schedule to come and be with us here this evening, even though he could not finally make it. He is a friend of Edo State, and we appreciate his gesture. I also want to thank the Minister for Sports and Youth and Sports Development and his team for their tenacity and sense of purpose. Without their drive, it would have been impossible to have shaped this game. I acknowledge and appreciate the hard work of members of the national and local organizing committees. Without you, these games would not have been possible. To the athletes and officials and the participating states, we thank you for attending and welcome to the ancient city of Benin City. Please endeavor to enjoy our hospitality and culture. And now, on behalf of the government and people of Edo State, I welcome officially all of you to the 20th edition of the National Sports Festival, Edo 2020. I wish all of you a successful sporting festival.
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Chief Sunday Dare, represented by representing Mr. President.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, Your Excellency, the Governor of Delta State, here present, Honorable Ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, here present, members of the National Assembly, members of the Edo State House of Assembly, and of course, the chairman of the LOC, His Excellency, my brother and comrade Shuaibu, my Lord spiritual and temporal, other dignitaries here present, good evening. I hereby deliver the speech of His Excellency, President Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. I am delighted to welcome you at this auspicious occasion of the 20th National Sports Festival tagged Edo 2020. The National Sports Festival, as we all know, is the biggest sports fiesta in the country, where both professionals and home-based athletes converge to display their prowess. Although the 20th National Sports Festival was supposed to have taken place 1 year ago, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it suffered several postponements. However, the determination of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari in ensuring that the youth are engaged productively through sports, also through the doggedness of Edo State government to host the festival, and the unwavering commitment of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, we are glad today that we finally are having the festival. It is indeed a befitting festival. To thousands of our young athletes, let me commend your stoic performance and faith in government to make this happen. Indeed, the sports festival is rightly dubbed Nigeria's Olympic show that showcases Nigeria's best talents in over 32 different sporting events. By the sheer population of the participants, historically, normally about 14,000, the reach of this festival, it engages our youth, and the National Sports Festival deserves a prominent place in the priority of any government. The National Sports Festival, as we all know, still remains one of the veritable tools for uniting our country, as well as bringing our young men and women to interact, to make friends, to compete, and also provides an avenue to discover talents for various sports that will represent the country in the global sporting arena. I must therefore thank the government and the people of Edo State for keeping their promise of hosting the festival despite the numerous challenges by the postponements which occurred almost exactly a year ago. This is indeed in consonance with the aspirations of the founding fathers, such as General Yakubu Gowon, late Major General Henry Adefope, late Brigadier General Samuel Ogbomudia, and others who initiated and brought this great event to limelight. The investment made in sports infrastructure and allied structures by the Edo government signpost the direction our sports development must take in Nigeria. No doubt, an investment in both our sportsmen and women and in sporting infrastructure is most desired. Through this event, the National Sports Festival, youth and sports come alive. Our sports must become business from which the benefits of job creation and employment, merchandise manufacturing, investment, and addition to GDP will accrue. Since the commencement of the festival in 1973, it has resulted in the discovery of great stars like Al-Aksan Yakmut, Ismaila Mabo, Aruna Ilerika, Henry Amike, Yusuf Ali, Felilat Ogunkoya, Mary Oyale, Kasali Lasisi, Mary Tombiri, Ese Brume, Tunde Obisesan, Abbas Mohammed, amongst others. Also notable amongst us are foreign-based Nigerian athletes who have since arrived to be part of this great sports festival. Some of which are Nicholas Okoye, 400 meters, Chidi Antonio Keze, 200 meters, Ese Brume, long jump, Orukwe Eyokon, Egoro Ogo Egene. All of these Nigerian talents, sportsmen and women, they help to bring international flavor to this festival and place it on the same pedestal like similar sporting events across the world. The 20th National Sports Festival promises to thrill and to produce talents and also expose stars. From Benin City will emerge a new tribe of world beaters and great athletes. I want to thank all the state governors, including the FCT minister, for bearing the pains of the postponement, the support you have given to your contingents to participate in the 20th National Sports Festival, despite the global challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic, is commendable. You all have made this event a reality. On this note, I want to invite all participants to compete in an atmosphere free of rancor and misunderstanding, to play free and fair, and in victory or defeat, to let the spirit of sportsmanship guide you. It is therefore my pleasure this evening to declare open the 20th National Sports Festival holding in Benin City, Nigeria, to the glory of God.
That was His Excellency, Mr. President, speaking through the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Chief Sunday Dare. We'd like to acknowledge in our midst the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talen. Please make welcome. An in-law to Edo State. We also welcome the Chairman, House Committee on Sports of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Osoba. We welcome you to Edo. May I, at this point, invite multiple award winner, Timi Dakolo, to perform.
our land afraid to defend what is ours. See, here we are as a people with one heart and for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom reigns and the roof prevails, our land, where there's hope for us all. Our land, where there's hope for us all. Tribes in different tongues, we're united in a strong resolve to uphold the honor of our land and for generations to come. Said and for generations to come. Shining like the sun from the north, south, east, and west. Say, will the flame? We believe will shine like the sun. Every Nigerian hear this. We're a great nation. What did I say? Yes. Everything you put your hand go walk. You never open doors. You self could be a boss. Amen. Amen. Everything you put your hand go walk. You never open doors. You self could be a boss. Amen. Amen. Every hustler gets a day. When the hustlers go come to pay, your own dinner will take. Amen. Amen. If you don't find work to your own, God self go to his own, and flesh go cover bone. Amen. Amen.
Please, a round of applause for Timi Dakolo. Thank you. And don't forget, we still
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the YouReport link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
I never get this kind of thing, or I hear it.
There was this broadcast on the Villa Updates, which I'm part of, and I got the information there that we should apply for survivor fund.
I thought it was a scam, but truly it wasn't a scam.
To my great surprise, we actually got a lot of 30,000. I have 5 staff, including the vacancies. We got a lot of 30,000. Like 3 weeks later, this is the first time I'm getting anything from this government. Even from past governments, I have never gotten anything from them.
It was a great relief for us because during the COVID-19, things were so tough.
I really thank the government for this great gesture because it has helped a lot.
Thanks for joining us on the program. My name is Omini Udan. Tonight we do 2 issues, one on threats to national security and the other on the gas revolution in Nigeria. For some time now, the nation has come under threats from different outlawed and proscribed bodies, which activities are aimed to undermine the sustainable peace and stability of the country with violent and destructive activities plunging communities into apparent apprehension and displacing many to distant areas to take refuge for safety. Today, the continued attacks on security agents, jailbreaks and maiming of law enforcement officers are growing threats to the peace and security of the nation. This is now raising concern from government, security experts and key stakeholders in containing the breakdown of law and order. The NSAS and the recent mayhem in Ebonyi and Imo states, as well as other parts of the country, is demanding for answers as Nigerians look forward to finding lasting solution to the security challenges. This is one of the topics for the discussion tonight on Tuesday Live, but first, let's take this background report.
Leadership is expected to guarantee the security of its citizens while the populace in return be law-abiding. Despite concerted efforts by the federal and state governments to ensure security of lives and property, many still sleep with one eye open. Enugu State over the years has been known for peace and tranquility. But with the spate of crime across the country in recent times, the situation is no longer the same. This is because threat to national security has reared its ugly head in form of intertribal misunderstanding, kidnapping, land dispute, rape, banditry, among other crimes. Meanwhile, in a bid to ensure security is sustained, the state government has instituted a law restricting movement of tricycles from 9 o'clock in the evening and has continued to train and retrain community security agents, while security agents are on top of their game to ensure that spate of crime is reduced to the barest minimum.
The frantic effort we are making in synergizing or synergy with relevant security stakeholders and support from the state government to rid the state of act of criminal and criminality is yielding positive results. I assure you that we are not going to rest on our arms.
So advocacy, peace advocacy on the youth is fundamental. Then again, going after criminals to really smoke them out from their hideouts certainly will help. But that one, this other one I mentioned earlier, this advocacy is the best. When you talk to the youth, talk to those who do not know enough, and they will understand.
Besides the killing of 2 police officers during the hijacked NSAS protest, Enugu State has not recorded such incidents in recent times.
Okay, that backgrounder sets the tone for the takeoff of the first tone of the discussion, which is on threats to national security. And I have joining me retired Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, Habila Joshak. Thanks for being on the program tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Also a security expert, Kabiru Adamu. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you.
And we shall be joined from Jos. I hear the guest not up yet. Okay, from Jos, joining us is Major Gabriel Adfikiri, retired immediate past Secretary General, retired Army, Navy and Air Force Officers Association, RANO, Development Management and Security Consultant. He's joining us from our Jos Network Center. Gentlemen, let's begin. Moments ago, just received a breaking news from brought to the media by the Commissioner in charge of Internal Security and Home Affairs of Kaduna State. Bandit kill 8, injure 4 in Kajuru and Kashia local government areas of Kaduna State. And we ask, this whole thing is sounding more like a drama, broken record. Is it that the security architecture in Nigeria is overwhelmed?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that these challenges keep rearing their heads. And so that means that we need to go back to the drawing board and have a solution that would put some balance, checks and balance on those who commit this crime, because they live in the community and they move around to find their targets and also move to confront the targets and do away with the targets. So it isn't anything that they fly. It's not that they live somewhere else. And so this is why we're saying that security is local, and members of the public must be interested in knowing who their neighbors are, in knowing who are the strange person, in knowing movement of individuals within the vicinity. If that is not done, then we will continue to be taken unawares and we will wonder. It doesn't require a kind of solution that you need to pump in money, or a solution that you think you have to do anything outside trying to own the fact that members of the community in every environment must be interested in knowing what is happening, knowing who is the strange man, knowing movement of people, and raise alarm. They said, when you see something, you say something. If we do that, we're going to do something great that will prevent or put to check this crime and criminality.
Okay, the developments in Ebonyi, followed by that of Imo State, and just lately now, tonight, the Vice President swiftly reacted and went to Ebonyi State, and just yesterday, the Inspector General of Police, besides sending a crack team to ward off these, has personally been to Imo State. And a few minutes ago, we hear, I think there's a curfew being relaxed and what have you. With all this in place, he has given a good scenario. And we ask, what really is the way out to all this? Because when it happens, government will react, the immediate security operatives will react. Sometime we had a discussion here with the entire, and we looked at rejigging the national security architecture. And one major concern was some of them operate in silos. Could it be the problem causing all this?
It is one of the problems, definitely, where you have a situation where there appears to be a deficit of equipment, and then the personnel are stretched. Then the obvious indication is this operation in silos where there is no synergy between the security agencies. But beyond that, for me, one of the greatest challenges is the collapse of the value system within the communities, which aligns with what my co-discussant mentioned earlier on, where you have a collapse of the value system to the extent that young kids and individuals in society are able to carry weapons and kill to the extent that we're seeing the types of killings across the country, then that is a huge challenge. Now, the second point, which is also very important, is the political ramifications of our structure as a country. There are some parts of the country, Nigeria, that unfortunately are feeling either marginalized or in some instances the real marginalization. So two things, the perception of marginalization and then real marginalization. Now, the listener may ask, why is this a security issue? Where you belong to a country that you feel the country is not being just to you, then the likelihood is that issues around sabotage, insurrection, you will either be the one that would originate them or you would support them in order to achieve your aim. So there is a political angle to all of these security challenges. If we don't address this perception, I emphasize the use of the word perception, and then the reality of that marginalization, then unfortunately these gaps will be exploited. And then thirdly is the security agencies themselves. At the last count, there are 27 ministries, departments, and agencies that are involved in security. But frankly, the reality is we don't feel the impact of those 27 ministries, departments, and agencies. The emphasis is usually either on the military or in some instances on the police. So what happens to the other? The military are just 3 or maximum 4 of them if you include the Ministry of Defense. So what happens if you include police 5? What of the others? How come we're not the kind of searchlight that we're putting on the military, we're not putting on the other security agencies? So that takes us back to the earlier point around them operating in silos. If you have a situation where a non-state actor can come out with military-grade weapons to attack a hardened facility like a police command or a correctional service, that is a clear attack on the integrity of the state. Now, what kind of response have these security agencies,
What kind of response? We'll come to that. Let's quickly go to Kaduna, where Major Gabriel Adofigwe is joining us. Let's be specific now. Let's look at what happened in the southeastern part of the country, precisely Ebonyi and Imo State. What Kabiru just said regarding attack on correctional facilities and police headquarters is quite a challenge on the government of the day. How do you react to this?
I want to say that it's not the best of time for us to become so rhetorical in discussing issues concerning security. This is also not the time to begin to look at issues more from a palliative disposition than direct, definite line of action. What happened in Imo is a direct affront on the integrity of this nation as a sovereign entity. It's also a threat to the survival of not just government, but us as individuals. And I believe that if I should have my way, since yesterday, the flags in all police headquarters, the flags in all military establishments, the flags in all security agencies should be flying half-mast because Nigeria is in sorrow. However, talking about Ebonyi, there is nothing special about that of Ebonyi. It has been coming. We saw it. There was in Dogon Nahawa, woke up one morning, over 500 people were slaughtered, women, children, and all, and aged ones. It moved on to Agatu. Over 500 people were slaughtered. We began to argue over the figure. Even if it's one person killed, it's enough for us to stand still and ask the question, what the hell is going on? And then it went on, spread to Taraba, and of course gravitated from the northeast to the northwest, and institutionalized itself, where now political elements play what you call the theater role in wanting to show. The military, like it happened in Kankara, the military told you, we have located them, we are doing all we can, we are closing in on them, we want to minimize the collateral damage, and before anything else, the governor is telling you we are already in touch with the bandits. You have institutionalized that criminality in that place, and it's spread on into Niger State. The truth of the matter is, for me, I would have expected some stern talks from the seat of government since yesterday. One, you didn't have. Thank God you have relieved the Inspector General of Police while he was on his duty there. If I were in his shoes, I wouldn't have waited to be relieved of that job. Similarly, whoever is the Commissioner of Police in that state should have shown us the maturity in his profession that by saying, look, I think I have failed. Not to talk about the controller of prisons in that place. They have a communication system. These guys, I'm told, they said they hovered around there for quite a while before they invaded the facility. What went wrong with their surveillance system? What went wrong with their communication system? Those to set free 1,800 prisoners is not a 2 minutes business. Let us come straight. Something is wrong with our system. And let us begin to talk straight to ourselves that we either solve it or we continue in this trail. And continuing in this trail is not the best for Nigeria. And for some of us who feel this nation is our last bus stop, our first and our last bus stop, it pains us to the marrow. Please, I want to say this. Whatever it is, we don't want long talks about issues that are gradually eating this nation. We want quick solutions. We want to sit back and review our security architecture Is it synergy between the services? Is it equipment, as one of your discussants has mentioned? Is it what you call a failure of our approach to security management? For example, security comes in 3 phases. You have the deterrent, you have the curative, and you have, of course, the preventive. The preventive, of course, is what everybody is least expensive anyway. The deterrent is terminal. And the curative is expensive. The curative, you create market for the weapons manufacturers because we don't manufacture them. So coming back to the event in Owerri, in Imo, and indeed in Ebonyi and every other places around, I want to say that we need to check ourselves again. Something is fundamentally not going right, and we mustn't play politics with this.
As much as we have the little time, we have to tie it up neatly. Now, with this, it's quite disturbing. How can we nip it in the bud and erode it completely so that such doesn't happen? Imagine if it happened, it has happened in Imo State, and nothing very serious is done, like the guest from Kaduna said. It's possible that somebody can rise up in maybe Cross River, maybe Kaduna, maybe to react. So,
yes, all
how
this,
do we knock it off completely?
Well, I would be surprised that someone is saying that this can be completely locked up, but this can be put to check and drastic action brought to bear on these criminals, because we call them criminals. You know that a group of persons from the east have been identified to have done that. The suspicion is the indigenous people of Biafra that have already been outlawed, and they went doing that. You remember also that they got in there after dancing around the government house, because the government house, the prison, the correctional facility, and the police headquarters, it was just fence. It's fence that divides them. So they had that opportunity to use the arm to take off the gate of the correctional service, and then brought out the people. I know also that on record that there were some of them who did not want to go out, and some that had gone out. Some few of them came back. And they couldn't actually access, they went straight to the CID of the police section, and then burnt whatever vehicle and equipment they saw, and also went into the defunct SARS office and also destroyed that, and released some suspects that were being held by the police. And they've gone too far. And you could also see that Imar Powerful, who is their spokesperson, went in denial that they didn't do that. And so I think in order to get this right, the Inspector General of Police tried, because he gave an order that those people must be fished out and dealt with decisively, that they should be brought down. And you know that since years back, this IPOB have been there. I was part of the people that were managing them for like 2 years when I was Commissioner of Police around Abia there. And so you could see that we need a situation that we have to nip these people right out. And it is very easy to be done. Other contributors have said the security agencies must synergize. They must come together to look at the equipment that is at the disposal of all the security agencies and military, to look at what each one will have to take, so that all these flashpoints, all these issues of killing and killing and killing will come. We have the capacity in Nigeria to put that to check. We have the capacity to prevent that, because the criminals live in us. They live within us. They are our kids, they are our brothers, they are our children, and we need to know who they are, because if we sensitize the community, they will give us a lot of intelligence. And I think we need to take it from here to say no to all this that is happening. And it's very easy if you bring all the security agencies, if the government also invests in it, because security is very expensive, and what you spend, you don't just touch the product of it, but we just have to put our feet on the ground. Like Mr. President have announced that people should go, the security should go after these people. And I think if we take that and look at it and plan well, definitely we're going to reduce this carnage to its barest minimum.
Okay. Kabiru, it's all about the government and the people. How do we erode this completely? He's saying it cannot be eroded. It could be checked. But I still emphasize, could it be eroded?
Yes, it's possible. But then one theme of our discussion here, especially the last discussant, is the need for accountability. We cannot be operating in a system that does not seem to recognize the importance of accountability. If, like we all agreed, 1,800 plus inmates were freed, somebody somewhere should be held responsible. The attack happened. They planned for the attack, they carried out the attack. Someone should be held responsible. So that's number one, accountability. Then number two, there need to be some form of performance measurement for our security organizations. We've talked about the need to introduce or strengthen monitoring and evaluation mechanisms within the security architecture that will allow especially the National Assembly to look at those security agencies and determine whether the key performance indicators that we have agreed for them are being met. So far, that is not done very well. Then number three, which for me appears to be a huge issue, security usually is done in concentric cycles. Now, if we use the case of the Owerri attack, if security is implemented in concentric cycles,
seriously,
then how was the first concentric cycle circumvented? How was the second circumvented before they finally reach the target? In my simple, implementation of security in the private sector, if I'm protecting this glass in front of me, it will be 3 cycles. Before you get to that 3 cycles, you would have passed the first one. So if I put a gate, for instance, in a facility, that's not the only security I've put. As an example, there will be a house. The house will have a door. It will have windows. Those are all concentric cycles of security. If there is a valued property within the house, I'll probably put it inside a safe. So even if you break the gate and break the window, before you get into that safe, I would have caught you. So what happened to all of this? This is 101 in security. So this is the point about accountability. By now, a commission, I'm happy to note that the governor has instituted a commission of inquiry into this issue. We hope that commission will do its work and put out its report so that there will be some level of accountability. Someone dropped the ball. There is no doubt about that, we're sure. And that person needs to be held accountable.
Okay, let's go quickly to Kaduna for the concluded thoughts by our guest there. Just in conclusion, we don't have all the time because of the very segment. We just had to give a tip on this. In conclusion, what are your concluding thoughts, please?
Haven't said so much about the security agencies and the operatives there, whom we all know come out of the bigger setup called Nigerians. I think another sector to seriously look at is the society itself. We need to reorganize, reposition the socio-psychological thinking style of the average Nigerian. People have, in recent times, become disconnected. They don't believe in government anymore. They don't believe even in the security agencies anymore. And I will conclude by giving you a very quick illustration. In one of my training experiences in Europe, particularly in the UK, when there was a robbery and we were brought on the scene to find out what really happened, the thieves, the robbers were so clean in their operations. But do you know that we got a phone call from an 85-year-old woman who was sitting in her house enjoying early morning sunshine? Immediately she saw the unusual movement on the street, she picked her camera and took some shots. That is social responsibility. We need to coach the ordinary Nigerian to believe in this nation, Nigeria. Nigeria is a name that we cannot begin to capitulate on how to disintegrate it. No. There is a purpose for this nation. The greatness cannot be underplayed. Therefore, we should start from the society. And to do that, government must cultivate the belief of the society in government and in government. And if we do that, it will be a bigger way while we do with the technical aspect of security architecture management. That is my position. Nigerians, we need to be properly educated. The average Nigerian 40 years and below now has lost the geography, the physical geography of this nation called Nigeria. Not to talk about the historical aspect. So we need to bring those things back. They help us. Otherwise, how can you explain 100 Nigerians killed in a location somewhere, part of states in the country, and the rest of Nigeria goes on partying as if nothing happened? That is part of security breach. That is my concern.
Just Network Center and not Kaduna. It was nice having you on the program. Thank you so much. Again, back here, I quickly will say, Kabiru Adamu, security expert, thanks so much for making your time to be on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And also Habila Joshak, retired DIG of police in charge of operations.
Thank you.
And that's it on the first leg of Tuesday Live tonight. We looked at threats to national security. On the second log, we shall be looking at gas revolution for national development. Just after this time out, stay with us.
Not mask your beauty. The primary purpose of a face mask is to protect the wearer from bacteria, dust, pollen, and viruses such as COVID-19. But now that face mask has become part of our daily wardrobe and accessories, Transgreen Nigeria Limited is introducing O-Care colors. O-Care medical face mask now comes in different colors to match your unique style and different attires. O-Care medical face mask is comfortable to wear, easy to breathe through, and does not leave marks or rashes on your face and can be specially branded to suit your taste. You can get your O-Care medical face mask today from pharmacies and supermarkets near you. O-Care.
Protection you can trust. O-Care. Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned. On the second leg of the program, we look at gas revolution for national development in Nigeria. Since Nigeria gained independence in 1960, achieving economic development through rapid industrialization has remained a growing concern, and the discovery of crude oil serves as primary export commodity with foreign exchange value. This prolonged dependence on the crude oil sector eventually monopolized government sources of foreign income in the energy sector, and to break the jinx, the federal government undertook a major diversification project in the sector with gas as priority. This singular export experts say is the huge investment in the nation's history, which is targeted at boosting the energy sector of the country with priority for renewable energy sources to diversify income and promote competitiveness in foreign and domestic markets. The evolution of gas resources in the country is to uplift the economy and drive industrialization with potentials of about 600 metric cubic feet of gas. This President Muhammadu Buhari at the virtual Nigeria International Petroleum Summit 2021 pre-summit conference and official launch of the Decade of Gas in Abuja said, and I quote, "The rising global demand for cleaner energy, which is gas, has offered an opportunity to exploit gas resources for the good of the country, and we intend to seize the opportunity that is the paradox that the administration decided to confront when we declared the year 2020 as the year of gas," end of quote. In the light of this, Nigeria plans to build the first and largest gas industrial park in Africa, which has the potential to propel economic growth in the country with a comprehensive gas infrastructure development program that can attract an industry of more than $16 billion within the next 4 years, while generating direct and indirect jobs in the process. This is one of our focus on Tuesday Live. We're already done with the first one, and I remain Ominio Dan. Before we go into the discussion segment, let's take this background report put together by correspondent Adamu Sambo.
The launch of the Decade of Gas in Nigeria sets the tone for what could best be described as a revolution in the critical subsector of the nation's economy. It demonstrates the resolve by the Buhari presidency to effectively develop and utilize gas as a national priority to, amongst others, stimulate economic growth, improve Nigeria's energy mix, drive investments, and provide the much-needed jobs for the teeming citizens of the country.
I can assure you that President Muhammadu Buhari has the political will to surmount the challenges and continue in a determined pursuit of transforming Nigeria into a gas-based industrialized nation.
We are grateful to the Excellency, Mr. President, for the continued support and interest in the National Nigerian Gas Expansion Program and other initiatives geared towards greater gas monetization and utilization in our country.
For President Muhammadu Buhari, it is seemingly absurd or even contradictory that Nigeria, as more of a gas nation, focused on oil over the years, hence the more proactive push towards gas development by his administration.
We acknowledge that Nigeria has still more work to do in the gas space. Gas has enormous potential to diversify and uplift Nigeria's economy for the good of the country. We intend to seize this opportunity. Our major objective for gas sector is to transform Nigeria into an industrialized nation with gas playing a major role through enhanced accelerated gas revolution.
Already, he said, remarkable progress has been made towards achieving the objectives, including developing gas infrastructure, promoting domestic gas utilization, commencing the process of commercializing gas flares, development of industrial and transport gas markets, as well as increasing gas to power. Other policies and projects kick-started include the National Gas Expansion Program, Auto Gas Policy, and the construction of the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline.
Global developments have indeed presented us an opportunity. Gas will become the dominant fuel for generating power, not only across the world, but in Africa as well. The question now is, can we rise up to the challenge? The Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the NNPC are in various regards setting the pace.
The president used the opportunity to appreciate Nigeria LNG for contributing about 1% to the nation's GDP, $114 billion in revenues, $9 billion in taxes, $18 billion in dividends to government, and $15 billion in feed gas purchase. There were goodwill messages from Secretaries General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Gas Exporting Countries, International Energy Forum, as well as the Nigeria LNG. The conference is a prelude to the 4th edition of the International Petroleum Summit to be hosted by Nigeria later this year. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Adamu Sambo's background report sets the tone for the second phase of Tuesday Live tonight, which is on gas revolution and national development. And in the course of the program, we shall be taking reports across the country, all in sustaining the conversation tonight. I'm being joined for this segment by Mrs. Brenda Ataga, Senior Technical Assistant, Gas Development and Investment, Minister of Petroleum Resources, Office of the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Also tonight, here is Sadiq Kazim. He's an industrialist. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
Joining us in our Lagos Network Center is Austin Avuru, former Managing Director, Seplat Petroleum Development Company. He joined us from Lagos. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So tonight, via Zoom, is Dr. Wisdom Patrick Enang, Engineering Department, Exxon Mobil. Welcome to Tuesday Live. Thank you. Let's begin. Now, so much has been said before now when we were doing programs that we're looking at wastages, flaring of gas, but all that is history now. And if government has taken so much steps to diversify the economy into clean energy, what will be the future of gas to the economy?
So really, gas today, when we look at our energy mix, is only about 20 to 30% of the domestic utilization, with the bulk of that going into the power sector. What we're trying to achieve with this gas revolution that this administration has been very intentional about is to increase that utilization from 30% objective today or target today into about 70% in the medium term and 95% in terms of our energy mix utilization long term. So medium term will be between 1 and 5 years from now, and then long term we are looking at a 10-year mark, which is why the decade of gas was flagged off as well.
Okay, Sadiq, one of the targets is in all this to ensure the fulfillment of domestic gas obligations by oil companies. Will it just work if not properly mainstreamed?
Come again, I don't understand.
Will this just, one of the targets by government, if this is achieved, it will ensure the fulfillment of domestic gas obligations by oil companies in the country? Will this just work that way? Will that make some kind of steps taken?
I really don't see it that way. Looking at it for me from industrial perspective, we need those oil companies to deliver the gas, like Madam had mentioned, to the consumer. If the consumer doesn't have it, then it's not useful to us, really. And like she said, the target is to get to a 75% in the medium term utilization. Today, one of the key issues that we have, the key problems we have is power. Without power, there is no industry. And if today at 20% utilization, she mentioned, the use of gas for power is still far inadequate for industry, very far inadequate. We need to ramp it up. We need to do it so fast. It's not just within 5 years. I think it's supposed to be done yesterday, so that we create the employment, we create the products, we create the whole value chain development. This has to be done.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Lagos before we go to other perspectives, where Austin Avuru. Austin, you have heard from the two guests here in Abuja. One of the surprises that came to Nigerians when we discussed towards not flaring gas in Nigeria sometime was the secret about Lagos, that so much has been done about piping of gas in Lagos. And we are looking at that and the achievement of the AKK. If this works, where are we looking at maybe in the next 2 years?
Let me start by giving a short historical perspective so that you can understand where gas comes in. It's not just about the campaign. Until 2012, this country was utilizing only 300 million scoff of gas per day. When this gas revolution first started in 2012, and all of that gas was channeled into the power sector, we saw a rapid increase in consumption, domestic consumption of gas, from 300 million scoff a day to 1.1 BCF a day between 2012 and 2015 in just 3 years. We have plateaued at about 1.1, 1.2 BCF a day since 2015. So the real issues are, one, investment in infrastructure to deliver the gas, and then expanding the domestic market for the gas itself, and both of them must come together. So before 2012, because we were dependent on rent from crude oil exports, we didn't pay attention to the larger economic impact of gas in our domestic economy. Today, the 1.1 BCF of gas domestically consumed, about 800 million scoff goes into power that is generating your 5 gigawatts. At this point, when the planning was done in 2012, we should be consuming 3 BCF of gas domestically and generating between 15 and 18 gigawatts of electricity. If you are delivering that volume of electricity into the domestic market or into the region, West African region, you will see the multiplier effects in terms of industrialization. So it's not just about campaign. There has to be a market. That market is growing. It's been stunted in the last 3 years because we have increased our electricity generation and distribution, in particular, transmission and distribution. So we had to get to that point where there is electricity available to everybody, because the key source of electricity, which is gas, is available to us. So once that market is large enough and is consistent and is reliable, the investments will come in delivering the gas itself. Here we can talk about the campaign, but I will tell you that in the last 5 years, Seplat is probably the only company in the last 3 years that is investing $700 million to deliver 300 million scoff of gas a day from the ANOR projects. Those projects will come up when that market is almost guaranteed and you make a return on your investment. So the campaign is fantastic. When it started in 2012, it delivered the results. I like the sustenance of the campaign by government, but beyond that, we have to look at the key issues of infrastructure, delivery of gas, a reliable market where the pricing is not regulated, where it is willing buyer, willing seller, so that everybody in the entire chain has confidence has confidence that when you invest, you will get your returns. Those are the key issues we now have to address.
Dr. Enang, let's get your opening perspectives. Are we set to go? You are with ExxonMobil.
So, yeah, I'm just going to give my own personal perspective because I'm not speaking on behalf of the company. But my personal perspective for this is, just like the other speakers have said, it's one thing to, have the infrastructure that we need is one thing. The second thing we need is the actual deepening gas utilization within the domestic economy. And that's the key thing that we need to really focus on. So the decade of gas pronunciation comes at the back of the great need, which, there is a lot of need. There's that potential market. And it's quite impressive that is backed up by the potential reforms that we're seeing, which we're hoping comes to bear with the PIB. Because then that will bring out those imperatives that it takes to be able to actualize both the infrastructure and the gas expansion that is required within the domestic economy. That's only when we can get the multiplier effects of gas for industrializing Nigeria.
Breeder, in keeping faith with the discussion, at some point our phone lines will be open, and if I talk to you, please turn down the volume of the television set to make your inputs and go straight to the point. Also, our Twitter handle is open at Tuesday Live NTA. You can also be part of the conversation tonight. We'll begin with some reports, begin with the report from Kano. After the first batch of reports, we'll continue with the conversation on gas revolution for national development in Nigeria. Stay with us.
Kano was an industrial hub in the late 70s and early 80s, which placed it among leading commercial centers not only in the country but sub-Saharan Africa. However, the situation became worrisome as the state has been grappling with economic downturn due to collapse of manufacturing sector on account of energy supply. Many factories were closed down and workers were laid off. Out of the 450 registered factories in the state, only 155 are currently operating with high tariff. Although the Buhari-led administration is determined to bring back those glorious days with the current gas revolution project. Sani Hussaini is a Kano-based industrialist, described the project as a major catalyst for reviving moribund industries in the state.
So given the fact that government is making an effort to bring gas directly from Ajakuta down to Kaduna to Kano, popularly called AKK, honestly, this is going to give us a level of stability in terms of cost and our ability to compete with our counterparts within and outside the country.
We were the owners of small-scale businesses. One of our great challenges is power. And with this project of this gas plant coming to Kano, we think it's going to alleviate, it's going to reduce a lot of challenges. One of our expectation is in the terms of power.
The consensus among the people of Kano is that government can deliver the gas project before the end of year 2023, whereas stakeholders in the economic sector will leverage on the initiative to reposition the state to play a critical role in the nation's economic rejuvenation.
That report was actually from Kano. We now take the report from Lagos.
Nigeria sits atop an estimated 200 trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserve spread across oil-producing states in the country. It occupies the 9th position in the global ranking, with exports standing at 929,844 cubic feet. Processing this huge gas deposit into liquefied petroleum gas, liquefied natural gas, and recently compressed natural gas has given the nation a cleaner, cheaper, and readily available energy source for domestic, industrial, and automobile uses, putting domestic consumption at 664,628 cubic feet. Having recorded steady inroad into gas development in year 2020, the federal government is sustaining its commitment to the sector by not only naming year 2021 as the beginning of the decade of gas, but also by putting policies in place.
Our resolve at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources has been to place policies and promote initiatives that support the utilization of our abundant natural gas resources.
We are also involved in establishing the storage facility for LPG, not just in the Niger Delta, but we extend our tentacles up to Kaduna, Kano, and Gombe State. These are all intendment to ensure that the price of gas is reduced.
Auto gas policy, national gas expansion program, and construction of Ajakuta Kaduna Kano gas pipeline are some of the initiatives targeted at building gas infrastructure and promoting value addition. The measures have seen a quantum leap in private sector investment in the sector, while more is expected in response to favorable pricing and regulatory policies.
If the petroleum industry bill is passed, some of these things will be streamlined, and it will encourage people, even the question of pricing we are talking about, the question of infrastructure, the question of taxation, all these things will be clearly streamlined.
Experts hope that the sector will, in coming days, witness more synergy, particularly between government and the private sector, that is needed to drive its expansion.
Our last report on this segment, before we go to the next part, is from Port Harcourt.
The oil and
gas sector, which serves as a major driver of the economy, accounting for over 95% of government's revenue between 2011 and 2012. The global oil and gas industry had a rocky start in 2020, having been hit by several challenges. The most significant is the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on crude oil demand and the sharp decline in crude oil prices.
There should be a good legal framework, good laws to enable government. Government creates the fiscal conditions, tax holidays, rebate, and so on, to encourage business, to create business-friendly environment. And so one of the things government can easily do is to stem insecurity. When your facilities, when your investments are not secure, you can never in any way protect your investments.
Energy experts say oil and gas operation contributes to improving the livelihood of communities in production areas by promoting sustainable development and generating employment, transferring knowledge, as well as outsourcing inputs locally.
But for the policies so far, government also has to implement PMS, AGO, DPK, the refineries, supply and distribution. While building these refineries, distribution is key.
Other stakeholders say with a huge investment in oil and gas sector, emphasis should be placed on industrialization and integration of artisanal refinery operators in the mainstream for maximum actualization of government's plan for gas revolution in the country.
Those reports from Lagos, Kano and Port Harcourt keeps us attuned to the topic tonight. Now, can you give us an update regarding where we are right now as a country? Mostly the latest LPG, autogas, where are we right now?
So with LPG, what we looked at was ensuring that we ameliorate all the challenges in 4 tenets that we had identified. In the LPG subsector was availability of the gas, accessibility, taking the gas close to homes, affordability, enabling consumers in Nigeria switch from biomass fuel to clean energy source like LPG. One thing we did find was the switching cost is an impediment to a bulk section of our family sizes, family homes in Nigeria switching to gas. And we looked at that challenge and have come up with a program which we're going to deploy before the second half of this year called the micro distribution centers. Those centers will enable the government support homes to switch to gas without necessarily coming out of pocket to pay for the entire switching cost. With the micro distribution centers, it would see us put close to communities, centers that would also generate employment for communities, small community holders, women in the communities, unemployed youth in the communities. What the micro distribution centers will do would enable us exchange cylinders in communities without necessarily buying the entire switching kit to use gas. So access to gas with that will be improved. Our target with that is to move from 1 million tons that we are currently consuming in the cooking segment to 5 million tons within the next 3 years. And with the entry of this micro distribution centers, we're already getting a lot of momentum. We would see that, just incrementally scale up before the end of this administration. That plan is in the works and will be deploying in 12 states in the shortest possible time, and then nationwide very soon as well. On the auto gas segment, work is ongoing right now where there's been a lot of engagement with stakeholders, there's been a lot of engagement with the industry, and it is important to us to introduce to Nigerians an alternative fuel that competes with gasoline in terms of pricing as well. Just give people an option and change the narrative around what our domestic energy driver is. So today we say gasoline is the domestic energy driver, but actually gas is actually a better energy driver than gasoline. In terms of calorific content, it would match. You can actually drive your cars 2 more kilometers than you would on gasoline with gas. And gas in this regard, I'm talking about the compressed natural gas. In terms of the pricing is sustainable because gas is a natural resource to us. We don't have to import gas. We don't need to benchmark the pricing of the CNG against, a reference market that is, subject to the vagaries of market volatility outside of the country. The domestic gas pricing will take care of the gas pricing when it comes to CNG. And on the CNG, just environmentally, it's much better for your vehicles, your vehicle combustion, the environment in itself, clean energy. We have many countries who have changed into CNG just because of a clean energy component, not even on a cost issue, just from an environmental perspective. That's how much more sustainable compressed natural gas is for the country. So in the auto gas segment, we are finalizing the framework to introduce into the country in a scaled approach to trigger the market, to stimulate interest, the auto gas segment of Nigeria. But I must tell you that there are vehicles already running on CNG in Nigeria. We've got trucks from specific company fleets running on autogas. We have taxis and commercial vehicles in Benin and in Lagos already running on autogas. So what we want to see is a scaled approach to this intervention that has been here already 10 years. So the government is really just bringing this to the fore and saying to Nigerians, there is, this potential, this opportunity for you to get better from your natural resource in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for the update there. Still looking within the value chain, she has talked about to stimulate interest and trigger the market. Within the value chain, let's look at gas production and utilization. It looks as though people are not really ready to catch into it. They are still seeing it as an illusion. When can we take it to them so that they see it the way it's happening in other climes?
No, I really don't believe that people don't want to. They are not reluctant. It's that it's not yet available. And like she said, it's being spread and scaled up. I used to remember, like Mr. Avuru had mentioned, as far back as 2012, when in Lagos, for instance, all the pipelines were being laid, all the companies along the pipeline keyed into it and changed over to utilization of natural gas. And I think government at that time also, in order to encourage that utilization, actually created incentives for industry to key into it. And it has been ongoing. So as long as there is this expansion of the infrastructure, there would be people keying into it, and people would be utilizing it. The AKK we've had in the report is going into Kaduna and Kano. Believe me, people in Kaduna and Kano are already lined up, getting ready to key into it. There's been a lot of importation of equipment and generators that would utilize gas. So this is ongoing. And then you know also that apart from just for power, there is also gas for other activities. For instance, in agriculture, where we need to focus a lot to develop the agricultural sector, gas for fertilizer. So that, I mean, as of today, Nigeria has become a net exporter of fertilizers because of the gas utilization, because of the gas availability. So I'm sure as soon as this thing is spread on the line, people will just take it, and then you would see the multiplier effects.
Okay, let's go back to Avuru. Avuru, still on back to you. Where will we be if what Brenda and Sadiq are placed us with, for instance, I still repeat, it is still like an illusion to the common man. Affordability, safeguards, climate change compliance.
I'll tell you, and both of them have put it very, very well. First of all, it's about availability. The general public in Nigeria is ready to utilize gas. The average mother in the home is ready to use LPG. LPG is not as available to her as it should be. With the distribution infrastructure that she spoke about, it will become available. But let me also say this. Before now, LPG was available to us in this country only through our refineries. When the refineries function, you have LPG. When they don't function, you don't have LPG. Today, 90% of LPG consumed comes from the LNG and is brought into the domestic market, essentially exported from the LNG. But today, thankfully, all the gas plants that are being built today, whether at Ano, whether in Saple, all of them have LPG components. So in terms of availability, in the next 3 years, there will be abundance of LPG into the domestic market. We won't be relying solely on LNG. We will not be importing LPG and won't be relying on the refinery. So that solves the availability issue. And she's already spoken about the distribution issues that are being taken care of. Now, in terms of the key infrastructure, and that's where government is coming in, and that's where this campaign and what government is doing. Now, the Lagos axis and industries have been getting gas because government invested in the ELPS that takes 2 BCF of gas. It was 1 BCF. It's been twinned, so it now has a larger capacity of 2 BCF of gas that comes from Niger Delta through the ELPS to Lagos and then to West Africa. What government is doing is replicating that key infrastructure by taking the pipeline from Ajaokuta all the way to Kano. Now, once you put the key infrastructure in place, it becomes easier to then take the arteries, the arterial pipelines that can then deliver gas from these key delivery pipelines to the end users. Gas is the future of this country, and there are 3 key reasons I would say so. It will do for us what crude oil did not do for us. Crude oil delivered revenues to the economy. And therefore, even while it delivered 95% of our revenues, accounted for only 10% of our GDP. But gas is an enabler. Gas will generate electricity that will then transform this country. Gas is an enabler for industrialization. Gas will deliver LPG, and as the gentleman said, gas is already delivering the fertilizer that has now made us a net exporter of fertilizer. So in terms of the multiplier effect, once it becomes available and infrastructure is in place, in terms of the overall multiplier effect, you are going to see a contribution to GDP far in excess of what oil has done in the past 60 years. It's also our solution to the cleaner energy transition. It's our only solution, perhaps, really, because to take away diesel, to take away coal, the only solution we have is gas, especially when in future we start applying technology and adding carbon capture to our gas utilization. You find out that gas will be just as clean as renewables. So in every aspect, when government talks about the decade of gas, we have come to a point where we don't have an option. Almost all the problems we have today of industrialization, energy demand and energy supply, fertilizer for agriculture, and almost all the things that a country needs to get to the next step, they're going to depend on gas. It's our future as we see it today.
And to Dr. Enang. Dr. Enang, I want you to react to a tweet in response to the next question. It's coming from @Buba Yaza. The tweet says, the burden outweighs the expectation. We rely on our gas to shed our tears, particularly on electricity, but just to see the opposite. Relatively, burden since no hybrid cars industries to relieve reliance on gasoline. But snail movement noted we underutilize gas as only for cooking. How do you react to this?
So the truth is this. Yes, there's been for some time, the gas hasn't been utilized as much as we would have hoped to do that. But that awareness is coming to fore at the moment. And as one of the speakers said, the government is now resolved to change the narrative through various gas expansion programs that touches on the LPG as well as the CNG, and we're going to see that improve. I mean, undoubtedly, there are very many interests and keen interests in coming into the gas market, because you've got to see that there's the supply bit, and there's also having private sectors coming in to deepen that participation of gas play in the country. So as some of these imperatives come to bear, where we can guarantee supply at an affordable rate, we have the commercial framework that allows the transportation of this gas. We also have some obligations that make sure that there's that sanctity of contract when it comes to get along. So once we fix those value chain, it would deepen. There will be that deepened participation of gas throughout the country. It's undoubtable. So yes, we haven't quite been where we wanted to be, but the narrative is changing because the government is providing the right imperatives, or at least they're being worked at the moment. Those imperatives, as they mature, we would begin to see, the importance of and the relevance of it. Just going back to the LPG issue. So according to the 2020 report that I read, we have about 5% LPG usage. And that target has been, we're talking about increasing that target of consumption from 1 million tons of LPG, up above 5 million tons. And that's really interesting, because if that is actualized, that is a huge one. Now, if you're talking about CNG for vehicles, that is the moment you can make sure that the gas is affordable, available, and there are market-driven strategies to make sure private sectors are involved. It will just, it has a ripple effect on the entire economy. So I don't expect that underutilization to stay that way. I mean, it's not even staying that way. It's improving beyond what we think it is with the statistics. And with the programs laid out by the government, we are confident that this will be achieved in little or no time.
Of reports, back to Brenda and Sadiq for Go to Lagos and via Zoom. One worry is, if all this is in place, what safeguards are in place?
Safeguards concerning what?
Pardon?
Safeguards concerning
the user, the environment, across
health
board.
and safety.
Yes.
So that's a good
you
question.
Agree it's a concern, right?
Oh yes, because people have a notion that gas is unsafe, gas is very volatile, and so alongside with encouraging and stimulating the entire gas value chain, there is a portion of it that is very, very much hinged on safety and awareness that goes along with it. What we are doing is, as part of our campaigns, we are training people when it comes to handling of gas. We had some jingles out about how to manage your domestic gas. Today I was even on a conversation with industry stakeholders on the distribution of gas to support the CNG auto gas segment and how to ring fence that. So safety is a key portion of the engagements that are going on right now, and it would be delivered as the benefits of the gas come alongside. So for every 1 million users, you would have enough information go out to support how to use gas, how to access gas, how to manage the handling of gas, whichever facet of gas you're going to be using. If you're using LPG or you're going to use CNG for your vehicles, how to manage it, how to manage your vehicles with the CNG canisters, put in the boots or put in your under your car or on the top of that, depending on what sort of vehicle you use, especially with the public transport system. So I can assure you that safety goes alongside usage. We are making sure that we're putting in place regulations to streamline the types of OEMs that come in to support the auto gas conversions, ensuring that there's warranty, ensuring that certified mechanics are going to be converting these vehicles that we'll put on the street. For the LPG portion of it, we've already gone beyond that. DPR has done extensive training all over Nigeria. We're making sure that the aggregators we use are licensed. They have part of the market share. They know how to handle gas before it goes into the communities. Community women are then trained. We have all sorts of partnerships from the National Women's Development Center to DPR under the ministry supporting this NCDMB, just to make sure that that awareness that is critical in informing people, in reorientating the mindset of people come into place as we push gas along. Because gas really is a behavioral change commodity. You must change the way you behave around gas. You can't just get up and use gas like you use kerosene. Even with kerosene, and that's why we had so many safety issues with kerosene. So with gas, we want to make sure there are no fatalities, there are no incidents. In the committee, we have a zero fatality policy. So our design right now goes alongside making sure that there is safety as a mainstream portion of it.
Okay, let's, Sadiq, you are an industrialist, and this whole thing, you are critical to this. And Brenda has talked about stimulating interest to trigger the market and switch from what used to be to what we want it to be now.
What should be?
Value mindset orientation becomes the problem now. When we assess the value of the AKK when it comes on stream, it was huge. But the worry is how soon will the key players want to switch in terms of affordability and, like what she said, people to be made to change their mindset to apply to it. Because imagine the route where AKK is passing through up to Kaduna, if that works and SMSs, entrepreneurs key into it along the chain, what that would be for the country.
You see, I just have to again correct this impression. I don't think gas is more expensive than where we are today.
Until you let us know, we may not know.
It is not. Gas makes it cheaper for us. Gas would eventually change the whole narrative such that we'll be producing at less cost, and then we'll be producing to serve the consumer. So, I mean, I remember back again, I still go back, when, for instance, the gas pricing policy was to benchmark it alongside diesel pricing. I mean, it was never acceptable to industry. Then we changed the whole thing. And I remember people at that time were keen in and investing in drawing the pipelines from the main pipe to their factories and putting that into their costing, such that after some years it has already paid for itself. People were taking, industries were taking facilities from banks in order to fund this activity. So believe me, it's cost effective. In the long run, it's going to pay for the whole thing.
But do you agree this is a concern?
It is a concern.
I'm used to running, besides public power supply, running my industry with maybe a diesel-powered power plant.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing an opportunity to go into gas. It will take some orientation by Brenda and co.
So you see, what I'm saying, the government is already doing its own part. And this has already been acknowledged. On one, making sure that the infrastructure is in place. Two, sensitizing all the stakeholders to key into it. By the time this has happened, believe me, it's going to be a walkover. Even for SMEs, like it has been mentioned, SMEs and the roadside, the backyard industrialists or small processors would actually be keen into the whole project. And it's going to solve the problem. For instance, power. If today you generate power at such an expensive rate, and then using gas you will be able to generate power cheaper, it brings down your cost of production. That's one. Two, even for the housewife at home, using LPG to cook, if she is running a small restaurant, it comes out cheaper for her than getting kerosene or getting firewood. So, I mean, we need to start, like she has mentioned, scale down the whole sensitization. It's already ongoing, and I'm sure people will just key in. I mean, there are so many dead industries in Kaduna, so many dead industries in Kaduna that died because there is no power. Exactly. I mean, I used to work for the textile industry. The whole of the textile industry collapsed in Nigeria because of cost of production. We could not compete with China, for instance, because we don't have the necessary power to fuel the industry.
Exactly.
That's what killed the textile industry in both Kano and Kaduna, that employed thousands.
So when AKK comes on stream, all this...
We believe that they should be able to come back. Okay. Because AKK would pass through.
Avurum and Enang, then we come back, take some reports, and sustain the conversation again. And quickly to Avurum. Avurum, I'll give you two tweets to react on. There are a couple of terminologies here I'm not very conversant with, but we have to address them tonight. Osomo to Bechuku says, how has fracking changed our future? Fracking. Will environmental damage from fracking natural gas outweigh the gains from using a fuel that is cleaner than oil or coal? On the second leg, he says, why is it that after getting an approval for building a proposed petrol station, you will later notice that in the long run, the established petrol station has attached a liquefied petroleum gas plant within the petrol station? How can such situation be stopped on time?
Let me start with the second question. You will not build an LPG plant in a petrol station without approval. The DPR will give you approval, and you get environmental approval before you can build it. And so from a commercial and operational point of view, dispensing LPG through already established petrol stations is much easier, it's much quicker to get to the public, which is why it is allowed. And under appropriate circumstances, it is licensed by the DPR. So it's not an anomaly. Fracking, there's no fracking in Nigeria. Fracking is going on in the U.S., and that is why U.S. has become a net exporter of gas. But that really doesn't have an impact on our current discussion. All of the gas we produce is conventional gas we produce along with crude oil. It's not through fracking. So the environmental problems of fracking that you may discuss in the U.S. are not here with us. But let me quickly also say what Sadiq has been talking about. We're not trying to assume that gas will be cheaper than other sources. I am saying to you that gas is cheaper than all other sources of energy we have in Nigeria today. In fact, when you try to sell gas, so if you look at all the distributors, there are those who are distributing CNG to industries where there are no pipelines. There are pipeline companies like Oando Gas and Power. The entire network is to give gas to industries around Lagos and Ogun State. The reason you are able to convince those people to invest in changing from diesel and LPFO, HPFO to gas is that you're able to demonstrate to them that you're actually cutting the energy cost by as much as 40%. None of them will convert. None of them will invest in conversion until you convince them that, in fact, in converting, you are changing to not only cleaner energy, but much cheaper energy. And as he pointed out, usually in 2 years, the cost of conversion, you would have recovered it. And then you go on. Every single any industry of what size that is using gas operates cheaper than the ones who are using LPFO or diesel or HPFO. And it's a lot more sustainable once the infrastructure is in place. Now, once all of the infrastructure is in place, we are going to have to address one major issue: the price of gas to the end user. So we sell gas at about $2.80, you convert to Naira at the wellhead. It gets to the end user in industries in Ogun State at about $7. It gets too excessive. And that's because the infrastructure to deliver it is not as comprehensive as it should be. When all of that infrastructure is in place and the delivery cost is no more than $1.50 to $2 per thousand, then when you add that to the cost of production of the gas, once we're able to deliver gas at no more than $4, $4.50, $5 to the end users, industrial users, it will actually amount to about half of what they're paying for LPFO and diesel and so on and so forth. So as I pointed out, it is our future. It solves our problem of energy transition to cleaner energy. It solves our problem of cheaper means of powering our industries and generating electricity.
For the sake of the members of the public who are watching, could you just break down in a few seconds what fracking entails?
Pockets of trapped gas or oil. Doing. Now, the most controversial aspects of fracking, it's actually in the US that this is done more. The most controversial aspects of fracking is because you have to pump chemicals. I know they say 90% water, but there are chemicals that are pumped into the reservoirs to perform the fracking activity. And when you pump this, a lot of those chemicals, they are under trademark secrets. So there is really no established norm as to what the impacts are. Now, there is also some impacts as to the long-term effect in terms of where, how it gets into some of the layers of the reservoirs below the ground where we have water. So what's the impact on the natural water quality, in the long term? So that's kind of the explanation, and it's a really expensive activity, really, and that's why you see they take the hits as soon as the economy sort of gets down in terms of price of gas and price of oil.
And the audio was a bit cracky there. Let's take some reports. When we come back, we'll look at other perspectives. If gas is volatile, although if people are trained on the safeguards, it is very, very affordable to use if the infrastructure is in place. What if I'm planning to be a gas theft? What are the implications? When we return after the report, we'll look at these aspects before the end of the program. The next report comes from Kaduna.
Sway as a reference point in the textile production, with its industrial layouts bubbling, especially in the 80s and 90s. The bubble has busted, leaving the city with structures which were once housed to the textile giants. High cost of industrial energy was said to be responsible for crumbling the textile industries. But with the pipelines being laid to the AKK project, a ray of hope shines.
It's commendable now that we are linking the gas pipeline now to the north, because that would be the key to drive industry.
What this means is that industrial gas will be available at a lower cost and cheaper, as well as transfer technology and promote local manufacturing.
With cheap gas available, our industries are going to come alive. New industries will even also come up. The petrochemical sector is going to grow. The textile industry is going to come back.
When the pipelines begin to flow, the needed energy by these moribund industries will be available.
That with this policy, we can see the kind of revival of industrial activities, at least for the first time, for the LNH time in Kaduna-Kano axis, where traditionally industrial activities is heavy, is huge, the backbone is there.
What stakeholders are looking forward to is the delivery of this project.
From Kaduna, we proceed to Enugu.
Time shows that the nation's economy over the years has witnessed different foreign exchange rate policies, such as fixed and flexible exchange rate system, that contributes to the growth and development of Nigeria's economy. This has created a contentious atmosphere as to its efficiency and consequent impact in various sectors of the economy. As a result of the physical and institutional structure role foreign exchange plays between countries, some prominent Nigerians suggested a sustainable policy that will create a business-friendly environment for investors across the globe.
Manufacturing is key. Nigeria will need to be self-sufficient in manufacturing so that we will engage our youth.
Diversification of the nation's economy, experts say, is a right step in the right direction in attaining an international standard in job creation, thereby creating avenue for long-term economic security in the country.
I don't think there's any other country in this world that is as blessed as Nigeria, one in terms of natural resources. If you invest in agriculture, I'm telling you, every state will have at least 50% of their youths occupied in that venture.
Coal was very, very vital in the Nigerian economy because it was coal that was used to produce electricity. To generate electricity, there cannot be industrialization without energy.
Harnessing these potentials, according to experts, will reposition the economic status of the nation by creating commercial viability at the domestic and international level.
And our last report for tonight on the program will be from Asaba.
The Nigerian National Gas Policy addresses and situates gas as a stand-alone commodity. To this extent, the government wants to ensure the fulfillment of domestic gas obligations, ensuring bankable gas agreements, and the achievement of gas to power targets to support the nation's power generation capacity.
Reinvestment on gas and all of that. I think it is high time for us to stop gas flaring. Once we stop that and put our energy into proper packaging of gas and its products, it will create great job opportunity for Nigerians. And
fuel is a major component of every manufacturing or production process. However, with the development of President Buhari's gas revolution, things are bound to change. For instance, the development of the Escravos-Lagos pipeline system, gas is taken from Western Niger Delta to Lagos, which has made it possible for various power plants to offer and take gas from the pipeline.
Now, Nigeria is suffering from a shortfall of what we call power. And if properly utilized, gas can power the country.
The federal government of Nigeria has invested in excess $50 billion towards the development of the upstream and downstream sectors. Nigeria is set to become a regional hub of gas in Africa. No doubt, Nigeria is on the right track towards the development of the gas industry, since getting it right will impact positively on other allied sectors.
Sabah, last report tonight on the program, but we continue the conversation. But before then, there's a tweet from @TrueNiger. How I wish those not watching NTA watched the discussion on gas revolution for national development on at Tuesday Live NTA. Then they will appreciate the effort of President Muhammadu Buhari to make Nigeria better with a brighter future. I must commend the discussants for enlightening us tonight. So all of you on the panelists, you are commended here in Abuja, via Zoom, and from Lagos. Kudos to all of you from @TrueNiger. Quickly, Brenda, you talked about the fact that in the entire gamut, the entire value chain, we're going to have outlets, micro distribution centers, among others. The worry here is, I still emphasize, we're Nigeria. What template do you have in place to ensure that people are enlightened regarding safety? Very important here.
Okay, I thought we had gone through that.
Yes,
safety in terms of
safety in terms of handling,
okay,
transportation, even refilling. being, you call it micro distribution outlets, mostly those in the rural areas?
So I'll start with the LPG segment, which is the closest to the consumers. In the LPG segment, we've seen really the proliferation of, unsafe practices almost everywhere. In Abuja, you could go drive on the streets and you see someone who is decanting gas at the roadside, selling by gravity, that's using one cylinder to fill another one and selling fractionally. So what we're doing is we're introducing, again, the safe fill cylinders to make sure you don't have to sell fractionally. We're also going to introduce an innovation, technology innovation, to support rural communities to buy gas fractionally from their cylinders. So there's a ultrasonic meter on every cylinder that would help you identify your safe level of gas. Even the gas canisters we're introducing in the market today have a level filling gauge that shows you at what level your gas is. We're introducing the composite cylinders into the market. With those two key innovations and technology going into the cylinders, it will help reduce the level of infraction when it comes to handling gas. Because if I am buying 1 kg, I know I've got 1 kg in my cylinder. I don't need to tilt it upside down. I don't need to try to shake it at an angle to get the last bit of gas. And everything is ultrasonic, it's automated. Your dealer can tell you when your gas is finished. And this technology has been deployed in other countries. Kenya, for instance, is using this perfectly. So we're introducing that into the Nigerian micro-distribution segment. One of the key issues in the LPG segment, as I was saying before, is just changing that outlook with the resale gas on the streets. So I say to people, if you saw a person selling gasoline, PMS, with one pump on the roadside, would you go there to buy PMS for your car? You wouldn't. We want to standardize the reselling unit. So when you see a gas reselling unit, if it's not in a station, you know that this is a certified, licensed, government-approved reselling unit where I can buy gas from, and all the safety checks have been done. You would also be educated on how to check your cylinder, how to check your valve. If you require one of the ultrasonic meters we're going to introduce into the market, you would be educated on how to do that, and your distributor would be there to put you through using that on the LPG side. On the CNG aspect of it, like I said, we are going to introduce a training and awareness portion of it. We're even starting that with the buses that the government has procured for NLC. All of the drivers are going to be trained on how to drive cars with CNG canisters, because the interstate buses have 2 of those canisters. These canisters are 250 bars. That is high pressure. So they need to understand how to navigate potholes, how to navigate bad roads. But thankfully, our roads are not so bad anymore. There's been a lot of work with the roads, and we would see that coming. To support the CNG canisters, we've also decided to go with the Type 1 canisters, which are made from metal because of durability. You don't want any punctures, goods coming in and out of the public transport systems. We want to ensure that handling is put in place. On the conversion side, we're asking the OEMs to certify every single converter. That person is going to be given a certificate. So by all means, when you take your vehicles to have it converted into dual fuel, you need to ask for a certificate. And this awareness will be broadcast once we're ready to go live everywhere. In the areas where we're engaging on LPG, there's a lot of awareness already on how to handle gas. There's been a lot of enforcement as well. There are a lot of consequences to using and mishandling gas. We've had too many fatalities. It must stop in Nigeria. Definitely. So with CNG, we'll toe the same line. The sensitization is going to come in from the transporters to the conversion companies. We're making sure that everything is properly streamlined to give and guarantee Nigerians the utmost safety in using gas. When it comes to people going to actually steal gas from...
We'll get to that. Okay, Sadiq, from what she has talked about, let's look at local content. All this, if all what she's saying is done within, adapted within the Nigerian economy, what's your imagination? And on the other hand, if everything she's talking about, we outsource them somewhere and they bring them in, can you compare the two?
No, I don't think we would do that. Definitely, we have to be able to convert all of the things that are needed. For instance, the pipelines that are taking gas from one location to the other must be Nigerian pipelines. And I'm sure the oil and gas industry has already keyed into that long ago because of the Nigerian Local Content Act. So we are ready. I'm sure also, for instance, the gas cylinders that have to be manufactured, the hoses that will deliver gas from the cylinder to the burner on the cooker, all these things could be done locally.
Yeah.
And they are going to actually propel the SME and other industries to come on board and do the things right. And like she mentioned also, issues of standardization and regulation must be embedded from day one.
Absolutely.
If they are not embedded, then we get into doing things haphazardly, and then they would increase the fatalities and the accidents. But if we make sure that standards are followed, then we would be able to do things right. And I'm sure we are ready. As far as industry is concerned, I know there are sectors within the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria that are already on board on these activities, and they would be able to deliver.
Okay, we imagine the multiplier effect to the nation's economy.
Exactly.
But quickly, our first caller tonight is calling from Kaduna, Uma. Hello, Uma. Hello, Uma. Hello, Uma. Are you on? Okay, we lost that caller there. Now, let's go to Dr. Enang. Dr. Enang, before we go to Avuru, give us a mind picture of what it would look like if, for instance, we're discussing the affordability, the availability, and how gas would change the fortunes of the nation's economy, and somewhere talk by the corner is somebody who is thinking of maybe breaking the gas pipeline or going to gas theft, maybe because it is the rave of the moment. What does it look like attempting that?
Gas is very unforgiving, and that's the truth. And just because of the nature, the mechanism of explosion that happens with gas, it travels well further than PMS, for example, once it's in air. So attempting that, it's something that is going to be very dangerous. And I believe, from my design experience, that the way we would treat the burial of gas pipelines will be very much taking that into consideration, making sure that there is that intentional drive to keep the pipelines well away from someone's reach, except they attempt to do that. And let's go back to kind of memory base. We've seen this happen where the gas pipeline, for example, has got tampered with, and then it exploded. And we've seen the consequence of that. It's really disastrous. And just picture, even if you were to have a shutdown valve that you're able to isolate the incoming flow, just picture the length of pipeline. Perhaps it's about 30 inches of pipeline, for example, or 40 inches. Just picture that and the volume you can pack at the pressure that pipeline is operating at. If it's operating at say 25 bar. Just picture how much volume is, and that volume will be consumed completely before you can, kind of put out the fire. So it's not something to advise anyone to do it. And I believe the design community is taking that into consideration at the burial, in terms of the burial depth that they would put the gas pipeline and the area, the corridor, the corridor that they would actually locate these pipelines.
Much. Afuru, I will ask you this. All what we are discussing here, here in business, you will talk about the PPP model. But here we're looking at a two-way thing. Government is ready, government is promoting, and the people are there. How best will it look if the synergy is achieved?
I will repeat without apologies, as I said, that gas is our future. Gas is our future, as other discussants have said, and as I pointed out earlier, we've had crude oil exports, which is what you try to point out. We just produce the crude oil, export it, and earn revenue, which is why we earn so much revenue out of the crude oil, yet its contribution to GDP is minimal, just about 10%. In the case of gas, if you look at the gamut of things we're discussing, it's an enabler in so many ways, in so many areas. So we're not discussing the revenue from gas to government. You can see that nobody has mentioned how much revenue government will earn from gas. They will earn revenue from gas, but you can see that all our discussion has been centered on the role of gas as an enabler, the role of gas in generating electricity, the role of gas in petrochemicals, the role of gas in fertilizer, the role of gas even in SMEs, the role of gas in industrialization. And so the real multiplier effect will quadruple the rate of growth of GDP. We're not just discussing earning revenue. We're not discussing a rental economy out of gas as we have done with oil. We're talking about gas transforming the economy to the next level. It looks almost too good to be true, but here we are. You've seen, as I pointed out in the beginning, just 3 years of increasing our consumption from 300 million scof to 1.1 BCF. Electricity generation went up to 4,000, that's 4 gigawatts. It's gone out about 7 gigawatts. Now, by the time all of these power plants concentrated on Lawrence Shogo in Ogun State and in Niger Delta, is because we had the ELPS supplying 1 BCF of gas to that region. If you now have another BCF of gas, traveling towards Kano, you are going to get power plants in Abuja, power plants in Kaduna, power plants in Kano, in addition to the industrial users. It's a huge transformation. And then just to talk quickly about the safety issues, so that we also do not underrate the consumers. The ordinary people in Nigeria have been using LPG as for cooking, even in the villages. We've been using, an average home in Lagos uses gas for cooking. An average kitchen in a restaurant uses gas for cooking. Yes, and it is so important that government is handling all the safety issues, which is what should happen. But don't underrate the consumers who have been using gas. Is not entirely new. It's just that the use is going to expand, and therefore the campaign for added safety will have to be increased. But let's not sound alarmist as if it's so new that we wouldn't know how to handle it, we wouldn't know what to do with it. We have been using gas for cooking in Nigeria.
Before I allow you go, still on Austin, please. Before I allow you go, can you give us, just in one sentence, your last thoughts regarding the entire value chain, the entire subsector?
Well, the gas value chain, just to put it in a couple of sentences, the gas value chain is the answer to our industrialization, is the answer to electricity generation, and therefore ultimately the answer to our job creation. Its impact on the GDP will be quadruple what the impact of crude oil has been on our GDP, even though you might not necessarily earn government as much money as crude oil.
Managing Director, Seplant Petroleum Development Company. It was nice having you on the program tonight.
Thank you very much.
To Dr. Wisdom Patrick Enang, independent gas expert. Your last thoughts and also hope for the future.
Touch on some points that comes to mind. When we're talking about gas, transportation, beyond the pipeline, you did talk about the pipeline and what would happen if anyone tampered with it. There are other options. There are other technology available. The gas play, yes, it's something that we're taking on now, but it's been there. Those technology, for example, the scalable, containerized, modular, skid-mounted barge that we could use for, virtual pipelines. That's one option. And, the CNG trucks as well. Now, in terms of enablers, the government has provided, are providing the right enablers. We're not there yet. The passage of the PIB will be one key enabler. The gas network code is another enabler that is really, it's going to, enabler and market liberalizer. The current, the confidence that there's that consciousness to review the domestic gas prices is very encouraging. Yes, we've started at a current gas prices, which we think is fair, and we're going to observe and move forward to a point where we can get a willing buyer, willing seller, free market system. So, those are things, enablers that are going to boost us to where we want to be. Now, if I just take, some excerpts from the NIPS event that just happened a few days ago, from Tony Atta, what he said is that, Nigeria needs to begin to fly on the wings of gas, and this is good. This has been enabled by the president launch of the Nigerian decade of gas, and the quick passage of the PIB is actually the overarching imperative to see us through to that actualization of the gas, our goal for gas industry. Thank you very much.
Dr. Wisdom Patrick Enan, independent gas expert, is joining us on the program via Zoom. It was nice having you on the program. Thank you. Sadiq, we're back here in Abuja, you and Brenda, to tie up. Brenda has made so much, has watered, let me say, whet our appetite and raised our interest into this industry. Are there areas you think government need to do more in terms of promoting this for people to get conscientized, get ready and prepared to lash onto it?
No, not just, I agree what government is doing towards scaling up with people at the grassroots is adequate. I'm more interested in industry.
Absolutely.
And I'm more interested in, for instance, government, maybe not during this administration, but putting in place plans that will take us, for instance, take the pipeline to the furthest northwest and to the northeast, for instance. And, for instance, from Abuja to other parts of the north central. This needs to be done. If it is coming from Ajaokuta, what happened to people in Jos, for instance? What of people in Maiduguri? We are not saying Maiduguri is going to be consistently and continuously a security area that would be avoided. No, we need to start thinking, like I said, not only by this administration, probably the next administration, but it's something that this administration should put in place, the plan. The AKK pipeline was a dream of somebody some time before, but today it has become a reality. So let's start dreaming of taking this gas also to other locations, because industrialization must spread to all nooks and crannies of this country. This is, for me, what I expect the government to be thinking about.
I thought you also look at the area of affordability and the entire chain, how viable it will look like.
It is viable. Affordability comes with the time. Nobody thought that putting a pipeline from Ajaokuta to Kano is affordable. Even as it is today, with lean revenues of government, we still doubt if it would work. But we have seen the progress that has been happening, So we believe that the mindset of the government to insist that it must deliver it is good enough for me.
Okay. Well, brother, maybe let me not say a closing now, but you see, most times when you introduce a new